Good morning, boys and girls, and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to math. All right, we're going to get started. Today we're doing strictly fractions, but we're going to do adding and subtracting and multiplying. So let's get started. Our first problem today is 4/5 plus 3/5. So as you can see with fractions that when we're adding them together, our denominators are the same, so we must keep it the same. So we're going to keep it as fifths, and then we have 4 plus 3, which is 7. So 7/5 is your answer, sort of. Remember, because it's bigger on bigger on top than it is on bottom, we have to separate it. We have to break it apart. One whole using fifths is 5/5, and if I were to take 5/5 from 7/5, I would have 2/5 left over. So my final answer is 5/5 is the same as 1 whole, and what's left is 2/5. So 1 and 2/5 is your answer. All right. Your second problem is adding fractions again. This one is 10/8 plus 6/8. As you can see, our denominators are the same, so we're going to keep it the same as eighths. And then we add our top two numbers, so 10 plus 6, which is 16. As you can see, it's bigger on top than it is on bottom, so we must break it apart because it's an improper fraction and we need it to be a mixed number. There's two ways to do this because we can tell that it's more than 1 because it's bigger than 8. So you can either break it apart or you can divide 16 divided by 8. So I will do both so you can see that you could get the same answer either way. So I know that 1 whole using eighths is 8/8. And if I were to take 8/8 from 16/8, I would have 8/8 left over. And if I were to divide 16 divided by 8, it goes in 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract, you get 0. So you get the same answer. So 8/8 is the same as 1 whole. 8/8 is the same as 1 whole. So 1 plus 1 is 2. And that's the same thing we got here. So your final answer for this problem is just 2 wholes. Alright, now we're going to move on to a subtraction problem with fractions. We're going to do 12/3 minus 8/3. As you can see that right now it's bigger on top than it is on bottom. And usually when it's our answer, we would say, okay, we need to break that apart. But because it's still in the problem part, it's in the question, we can leave it, we can solve it, and then we can break it apart if it's still bigger than 1. So here we go. So once again, we have the same denominator, so we're going to keep our 3, so it's going to be thirds. And 12 minus 8 is 4. So we have 4/3. As you can see, it's still bigger on top than it is on bottom, so we must break it apart. We have 1 whole would be 3/3 using thirds. And if I were to take 3/3 from 4/3, I would have 1/3 left over. If you remember, 3/3 is the same as 1 whole, and we have 1/3, so our answer is 1 1/3. Alright. We are going to do now 2 multiplication problems with fractions. Or actually not 2 multiplication, we'll do 1 multiplication and then 1 comparison. So we're going to do 6 times 2/3. Alright, if you remember, when we're multiplying a whole number by a fraction, we need to make this whole number a fraction. And the easiest way to do that is just by putting a 1 under that, that number, because now it's 6/1. which is still the same as 6 wholes. And we're going to multiply it by 2/3. Now we multiply the tops together and the bottoms together. We are not cross multiplying. So let's do the tops first. We would do 6 times 2, which is 12. 1 times 3, which is 3. Okay, so some of you may have 12/3 as your answer, which is partially correct. We have to still make it a mixed number because right now it's an improper fraction. So what you could do is you could do 12 divided by 3. You ask yourselves, how many times can 3 go into 12? 3 can go into 12 4 times. So you put your 4 on top. 4 times 3 is 12. You subtract, you get no remainder. So your complete answer is 4. Alright, we have one more problem. We are going to be comparing the fractions 2/3 and 2/4 by using greater than, less than, or equal to. Alright, so remember you're supposed to pause and then click play so you can see how you did. There's 2 ways that you can solve this. The first one is the trick of whenever the 2 numerators are the same, whichever denominator is smaller, that's actually the bigger number. Okay? Or you could draw yourself like a candy bar. Tell yourself it's a candy bar. And think, okay, this one I would be splitting it between 3 friends. And we ate 2 pieces. This one we would be separating it, or dividing it between 4 friends. And we ate 2 pieces. Which candy bar did we technically eat more of? I know this line's not perfectly straight because I'm drawing sideways. But which one is more? This one is. So the bigger fraction is actually 2/3. Alright, I hope this was a good review for you. Please let me know how you did. Send me a picture of your work so I can give you some dojos on Class Dojo, and so can Miss Sweet. If you have any questions, please let us know, and I can't wait to work with you tomorrow. Bye.